Geopolitics, in the best of times, are a three-dimensional chessboard. And in disruptive and uncertain times, it's even more complicated than that. Investors are having a hard time looking at the information and the headlines, knowing that they don't know the whole story of anything, and trying to make economic decisions and market decisions. I think investors would be best suited to recognize there's probably two main issues that need to be addressed. One is that the rivalry between the U.S. and China is becoming more acute, economically, politically, militarily, and technologically. And Donald Trump, on top of that, is trying to balance the America First agenda with the idea that that does not mean America alone. It means our allies and our partners and our neighbors in the West, the Western democracies. China is got a couple of problems. Number one, they've got to keep exporting because they don't have enough domestic demand. And to keep exporting and manufacturing, they need energy, and they've got to get that from Iran, Russia, and Venezuela. Trump believes that he's got an upper hand in that because he can enforce sanctions a little bit more aggressively. That's harder to do than most think. And he thinks it's with some of our allies who are in the middle of transporting Chinese goods, which are subsidized by the Communist Party of China, namely Vietnam, India, and to a lesser extent, but still very real, Mexico and Canada. China is a low-cost producer and exporter of steel and aluminum. Europe, especially Germany, they sell a lot of cars. And Canada and Mexico are responsible for a lot of the domestic automobile manufacturing and assembly for this country. These are very, very complicated issues. It's interesting to see that the Ukrainian stunning drone attack on Russia's bombers was incredible. I haven't talked to anybody that doesn't believe that either NATO or the CIA or the U.S. military was not involved. Putin knows that. The Chinese know that. I also think it's very interesting to see Chancellor Merz having come to Washington last week and talking about automobile exports. That's a complicated issue because the Germans make good cars. We don't. We are the most expensive producer of automobiles with the lowest quality in the Americas. And that's not a very good starting point. The point is tariffs are probably going to come on to the Japanese, Korean, Indian, and European automobile manufacturers. And they're not happy about it, rightfully so. But to get those to be reduced, and I think they can be, the issue really at hand, not so much with Europe, but with certainly, Vietnam, India, Mexico, Canada, it's a transshipment of subsidized products coming from China. Trump is going to use sanctions and tariffs with our neighbors and allies so that the tariffs that we want to put on the Chinese will also be put on the Chinese by Mexico, Canada, and India and Vietnam. That's very tricky as well. We're going to see how that goes. And the markets are still going up because of all of this stuff. So the markets feel comfortable with this and the idea that it's going to get resolved. Hope that's true. The fact that Trump and Chairman Xi actually spoke on the phone for an hour and a half this past week, and that they've agreed to have a trade delegation meet in London next week is a very positive development. I really believe that China has a lot to lose by not getting to a closer and fairer trade situation. I think that Canada and Mexico do too, as does India and Vietnam. These are the 5 largest or so major trading partners with this country. Trump wants to get to fair trade. That means get toward the global average, which is about 6.5%. U.S. tariffs are about 2%. I think we will get there. It's not going to be easy and it'll be disruptive for everyone. But at the end of the day, it really is about containment of the Chinese export manufacturing machine, which is subsidized by the Chinese Communist Party.